Salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it's an honor and a privilege, as it is every day, to have you guys joining me here as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, all sorts of things like that. And I'm glad you're here to come along for the ride with us. You know, there's a lot of very cool things going on in here today. And you know, we got a bunch of things to talk about. Obviously, that you can tell right off the top there from the headline stories there. Lando Calrissian, Billy D. Williams is back. Mission Impossible Fallout is tracking to be the biggest opening in the franchise's history. That's cool. A Kimbo Slice movie is coming with Winston Duke M'Baku himself playing the lead role. Lots of stuff. But before we get to any of that, we need to get caught up on a little bit of housekeeping. Now, yesterday, on the question of the day, we were talking about the supposedly upcoming Harley Quinn-focused movie Birds of Prey in the DCEU. Now, Margot Robbie said that they're going to start shooting this movie in January. Now, you know, a lot of DC movies get said they're coming and then they don't, so who knows what to believe. So the question of the day yesterday was, is this Birds of Prey movie actually going to happen? Here's what you guys had to say. A majority of you guys said, yes, it's going to happen, but it shouldn't. That was 35.4% of you guys. Another 29.4% of you said, yes, it's going to happen. 27.2% of you said, no, it's not going to happen. And just 7.8% of you said, it's not going to happen, but it should. So overall, when you add up yes and yes, but it shouldn't, about 50, 64, 65% of you guys said that, yep, whether it should or shouldn't, 65% of you guys on yesterday's question of the day said, yes, this Birds of Prey movie is actually going to happen. So Margot Robbie says they're going to start shooting in January. I guess we're going to find out soon enough. Now, we've got another question of the day today, of course. It's going to revolve around the Lando Calrissian situation. We'll get to that closer to the end of the show. But before we get to any of that stuff, let's get you caught up to date with everything going on in the world of movie news with our little segment that we call the Movie News Feed. First up, one of the things a lot of Star Wars fans have been asking for in recent years is Lando. With the return of Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and even Princess Leia to the Star Wars universe, a lot of fans have been asking, where's Lando? Well, apparently those prayers are about to be answered, as it has just been announced that Lando Calrissian, played by Billy D. Williams, will be returning for Star Wars Episode 9, being directed by J.J. Abrams. From The Hollywood Reporter, chatter about Williams joining the production, which is set to begin later this summer, increased in recent days when the actor bowed out of an upcoming sci-fi and pop culture convention, citing a conflict with a movie schedule. Sources then confirmed to The Hollywood Reporter that Williams will indeed be returning to the Star Wars film franchise for the first time since 1983's Return of the Jedi. The Lando Calrissian character made his suave debut in 1980's Empire Strikes Back. Of course, Episode 9 is being directed by J.J. Abrams and will reunite Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, and Adam Driver, among others, including Kerry Russell, who is one of the new additions to the cast. Star Wars Episode 9 is set to open on December 20th, 2019. And there was great joy amongst all the people. You know, one of the things that I've been saying for a while is, like, I didn't know whether or not we'd be seeing Billy D. Williams coming back as Lando or not. But, you know, one of the things we've been pointing out is that, you know what? He's popping up. He's staying connected to the Star Wars universe. He did the voice of Lando in the Rebels cartoon show. He was always invited to the Star Wars premiere. He was always there. It just always felt like Lucasfilm was keeping him connected to the family. And even in some of his interviews, it kind of sounded like he might have been hinting a little bit that he may be coming back. Now, how long he's known he's coming back, he might have known all along, like ever since Star Wars The Force Awakens, he may have known, or maybe they just confirmed it in recent days. Who really knows? All we know is that there's going to be a lot of very happy Star Wars fans that Lando is back. Now, hopefully, they're not just bringing him back to kill him off like they've been doing with some other characters, or at least if they do kill him off, he'll go out in some big heroic blaze of glory like Lando Calrissian deserves to have. Now, how big of a role will he have to play in this movie? Will it be significant like Han Solo in The Force Awakens? Will it be smaller like Luke Skywalker in The Force Awakens? Who knows? We're going to have to wait and find out. But it is going to be kind of nice seeing Billy D. Williams back on screen again in a Star Wars movie. And I know a lot of people are very happy about this news. Next up, you don't have to be an MMA fan to know who Kevin Ferguson is, or as he's better known as, Kimbo Slice, the man who rose from homelessness to superstardom and celebrity after becoming a YouTube legend for his backyard brawls, which led him to scoring fights in the UFC itself. Deadline reports that Winston Duke, who recently broke out as T'Challa's ally M'Baku in Marvel's over $1 billion grossing Black Panther and Avengers Infinity War films, is taking on the role of MMA legend Kevin Kimbo Slice Ferguson in a film called Backyard Legend. The producer of the film said the following: "It's a rich and layered tale about this man's incredible journey from a poor neighborhood in Miami to becoming a worldwide phenomenon. We are ecstatic that Winston has decided to take on this both physically and emotionally challenging role. We simply could not find a better Kimbo." He was a sensation. Kimbo Slice was a sensation. Whether it's like, he's got almost this Mr. T rugged tough guy look, whether it was just the name Kimbo Slice, obviously the social media videos that would always go viral of his backyard fighting, and the fact that he was just one tough son of a bitch. I mean, he was one of the baddest men on the planet, and he proved that he was more than just a flair, some weird YouTube sensation, when he came up to the UFC and he actually competed, and he competed in professional mixed martial arts. Was he one of the top 10 greatest fighters in the world? No, obviously not. But the dude went from just being some sensation online to being a legit fighter. It is a classic rags to riches story in one of the hottest sports in the world right now in MMA. He died far too early and far too tragically, but man, this was a dude who made the most of his opportunities. And again, he went from nothing, like living in homelessness basically in Miami, to being a household name. You didn't even have to be an MMA fan to know the name Kimbo Slice. He became ultimately famous, a household name, a celebrity of the highest order in a fast-growing sport in the world, and he was a celebrity. The fact that he was able to do that all himself is an amazing story. And look, I love Winston Duke. I became a massive fan. If you guys have been watching me for any period of time, I am a huge fan of Winston Duke, particularly the character of M'Baku. I fell in love with that character in Black Panther. Like, I know a lot of people's favorite characters are Shuri and some other people. Mine was M'Baku. I loved M'Baku. I thought he was the best part of that movie. I got super overjoyed when I found out he was also going to be in Avengers Infinity War, and now I'm really happy to hear that he's going to be playing this role. And he's a really good fit for it. Physically, he's a really good fit. He's clearly a good actor. I'm excited about this. I think this is great news. Next up, we've known for some time now that Spawn creator and Canadian kid Todd McFarlane was developing a new live-action version of Spawn. Then we found out that he scored Academy Award-winning actor Jamie Foxx to play the title role. Now, we have word that another comic book movie veteran has joined the project as well in the form of Jeremy Renner. From coming soon, Renner will take on the role of Detective Twitch Williams, the egg-headed private investigator that crosses paths with the demonic superhero from time to time. McFarlane will write and direct the Spawn reboot, which he previously confirmed will be dark and R-rated, even going so far as to say that it would be a harder R than Deadpool. McFarlane also revealed that the budget for the film will be a small $10 to $12 million, a very untypical budget for a superhero film, which range into the hundreds of millions of dollars at Warner Brothers and Marvel Studios, but pretty much on par for production of Blumhouse Productions. And look, I've made no secret about it. I don't have a lot of hope for this project. Like Todd McFarlane, a guy who knows nothing about directing, stepping up saying, "I'm going to direct this myself," I think is a purely idiotic move. It's a purely idiotic move. Oh, anybody can direct. Directing's simple. Nobody, who cares? Anybody can direct. And I think that's ridiculous. And I really do think he's going to ruin this project. Now, that being said, he has pulled off some pretty good coups here. Number one, he's got Blumhouse behind him. Having something like Blumhouse behind you, that's a pretty big deal. They do have a track record for success. And maybe they're going to have some influence over McFarlane here as far as the direction of the film goes. That could be a good thing. Another big win for him was getting Jamie Foxx on to play the title role. Look, Jamie Foxx is a great actor. He's an Academy Award-winning actor. This is a good thing. Now, regardless of what you thought of his Electro in that Spider-Man movie, that's the way the character was written. It is what it is. Jamie Foxx is a very, very good actor, an Academy Award-winning actor, so I thought getting him was a big score. And now, getting a guy like Jeremy Renner, look, that's a huge score too. That's terrific. Now you've got an Academy Award winner, an Academy Award nominee. You got two guys who are veterans of the comic book movie genre. It's a small little budget being done by Blumhouse. Look, I remain skeptical about this project. But as a skeptic of this project, even I have to say, you know what? Call it like I see it. Some good things are happening. Some really good dominoes seem to be falling into place for a Spawn project. I remain skeptical, but as a skeptic, even I gotta say, some good things are happening, and maybe this is a project we need to keep our eyes on. And finally, the 6th installment of the Mission Impossible franchise is getting closer to its release in theaters, and it looks like it could be heading for the best opening in the history of the franchise at around $60 million. From Variety, 2015's Mission Impossible Rogue Nation had a solid $55.5 million domestic launch and wound up with $192 million domestically and $682 million worldwide. The highest opening Mission Impossible film was 2000's Mission Impossible 2 with $57.8 million, while 2011's Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol was actually the lowest opening weekend at $29.6 million. However, that had a limited release first and then a wide release, so that number can be a little bit deceiving. Mission Impossible Fallout will open in theaters on July 27th. And it does seem odd when you think about the Mission Impossible franchise and how successful that it's been. It is a little weird to hear an opening number like $60 million and hearing it would be the biggest opening in the history of Mission Impossible films. Because you just think, oh, a Mission Impossible film, that opens to $100 million. No, not necessarily. The movies traditionally have really good legs and do well overseas. And this has been their recipe for success. None of the Mission Impossible films have ever opened super large. Like the biggest one before now was 57. The last one, which had a really good opening, was 55.5. They're saying this one could come in around 60, maybe a little bit north of that, maybe a little bit south. But it looks like it's going to be the biggest opening of the franchise. Now, if it is, and understanding like that last film made like $682 million, this could be a film that could be heading for something in the neighborhood of like a $700 million worldwide box office, which again would be crazy successful or something like that. I just think a lot of us and a lot of film fans have become desensitized lately about opening weekend numbers because we're hearing Star Wars The Force Awakens 230, Avengers Infinity War 258 million, or however we're hearing these huge numbers, and we lose sight that an opening like $60 million is actually really good and really solid and could lead to a really great worldwide box office number, particularly for a franchise like Mission Impossible. Look, I think the trailers for this movie, Fallout, have been insanely good. Watching all these stunt videos that Tom Cruise has been putting out has just gotten my excitement ramped up more. And a lot of people are asking the big question, was Henry Cavill's damn mustache worth it for what it did to Justice League? That's what a lot of people are going into Fallout trying to find the answers for. But look, I think everything on this has looked pretty good so far. And if it does come in at 60 million opening, biggest opening of the franchise, that's nothing but good news for them. And that'll do it for today's installment of the Movie News Feed. And now you are all caught up to date on everything going on in the world of movie news. And that leads us into today's question of the day. And of course, the question of the day is going to be based on that whole Lando Calrissian situation. And the question is absolutely simple. Here's the question for you guys today. Simple. Is Lando going to live or die in Star Wars Episode 9? That's your question today. Will Lando live or die in Star Wars Episode 9? Look in the description of this video. At the very bottom of the description, you'll find a link to where you give your answer. There's a little survey link there. Click that and then register your vote. It's real simple today. Is Lando going to live or die? Now, a bunch of you guys have already been running in there and filling that out. How many responses do we have already? We already have, let's see here. We got about 40 responses so far. Right now, the majority of you guys are saying that he's going to live. 64.8% of you saying he's going to live. Saying he's going to live. 35.1% of you saying he's going to die. We'll get to the final results of that on tomorrow's The John Campea Show. But now do your part. Find that link in the description below. Go register your vote. Simple. Does Lando live or does Lando die in Star Wars Episode 9? You tell us. All right. Let's get on now with the main topics today. And of course, the main topics are submitted and created by you guys. How do you submit a topic or question to be one of the main issues here? It's simple. Email your topic or question to me at john at thejohncampeashow.com. Email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com. And guys, make sure you put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, guys, keep those emails to 90 words or less. All right, let's get on with the first topic today. And the first topic today comes to us from Alex Wolfe, who writes, "Hey, John, greetings from Cincinnati. I've been watching since the AMC Thor: The Dark World review." That's going back a while. My question is, what is your favorite and least favorite Ridley Scott directed films? Ridley Scott is a really interesting name when you're asking for favorite film he's directed and least favorite film, because Ridley Scott has directed some all-time great, amazing films. Ridley Scott has also directed some real garbage films. I mean, it goes both ways. There's two big candidates for my least favorite Ridley Scott directed film. The runner-up would be The Counselor, that he did with Michael Fassbender. That movie, hot garbage. Came out in 2013. I was excited about it. I thought the trailers looked good. Hot, steaming garbage. Just awful. However, I don't believe it's my least favorite Ridley Scott. The winner of my least favorite Ridley Scott directed film has to be Robin Hood, that he did with Russell Crowe. Probably my all-time favorite actor is Russell Crowe. And they did a Robin Hood movie. I was very excited about it. Oh my God. I just don't have the words to express how awful that movie is. It's just dreadful garbage. So my least favorite Ridley Scott directed film is going to be Robin Hood. Now when you go over to what my favorite of his would be, my God, the list of Ridley Scott films is crazy. Like, just crazy good. And you know what? I mean, whenever I think now about my favorite Ridley Scott films, one of the films, this isn't the winner, but one of the films that comes to mind is one of his more recent ones, which is The Martian that he did with Matt Damon. That movie is brilliantly directed, and it's a fantastic film. If you haven't seen The Martian yet, absolutely check out The Martian. Of course, he's got films like Aliens, Black Hawk Down, Matchstick Men, I mean, on and on and on. But I gotta say, my favorite Ridley Scott directed film, just like his worst one has Russell Crowe in the lead, my favorite one of his has Russell Crowe in the lead, and that's Gladiator. Gladiator is just, it won the Academy Award for Best Picture. It's just so great. I mean, every time I'm flipping through channels and I see the Gladiator's on and I stop for a minute, before I realize it, 45 minutes have passed, because I'm just magnetically drawn to that film. That movie is so good on so many levels. And it's the movie that put Joaquin Phoenix on the map for most people, playing Commodus in that. He was so good in that. Him and Russell Crowe had this awesome dynamic together. So good. That movie is so awesome. So yeah, I understand everybody's going to have different answers for that. A lot of people will say Blade Runner. A lot of people will say Aliens, whatever. But yeah, my all-time favorite Ridley Scott directed film is Gladiator. That's actually kind of easy for me. And my least favorite also has Russell Crowe in the lead, and that's his Robin Hood movie, which I just thought was terrible. All right, let's move on to the next topic. And the next topic today comes to us from Jasen, who writes, very simple, do you think Justice League 2 will be made? Well, look, I think there are several reasons to believe that it will be made, and I think there's several reasons to believe that it won't be made. And then you get into some semantics about what constitutes Justice League 2. Look, on the one hand, about why we should expect Justice League to be made, or a second Justice League movie to be made. Number one, what's the point of having a DCEU? What's the point of having a DC cinematic universe if you're not building towards Justice League films? I mean, seriously, what's the point? You have shared cinematic universes, so you can do these big build-up films later on, right? Otherwise, just do I love standalone comic book movies, actually, but otherwise, just do standalone comic book movies. If you're going to have a shared cinematic universe, the point is that you build it up to Justice League. That's the whole point of it. Number two, Avengers is still shown, despite what happened with the first Justice League movie, Avengers shows that when you do the big team-up movies, there's huge upside potential. So yes, granted, the first Justice League stumbled out of the blocks, fine. But the Avengers franchise shows us that when you do these big team-up movies, I mean, look, Avengers Infinity War just became the 4th highest grossing box office film of all time. Only the 4th film in history to join the $2 billion club. Clearly, there's big potential there. So that's another good reason to expect that they'll do a Justice League 2. Another reason to expect that they'll do a Justice League 2 is that right now it seems like they're just keep going. Like, people like me, I think they should reboot. I think their best chance for success, and I want them to succeed, and therefore I want them to reboot because I think that's their best chance for success. However, it seems on the surface like their decision is to be just keep going. And so if they're going to keep going and you're doing an Aquaman film and you're doing Shazam and you got another Wonder Woman coming, I think that all points to that they probably have plans to do a Justice League 2 somewhere down the line. Whether it's sooner or later, who knows? So those are all the reasons, and I think some pretty compelling reasons, why I think you should expect there to be a Justice League 2. However, there's also a flip side to that coin. I think there are some pretty good reasons to think that they won't do a Justice League 2. Number one, the results of the first Justice League. Unlike the Avengers situation, where you build up to your big team-up movie and then you do the big big Avengers movie and it becomes the biggest film in your franchise, Justice League came out and became the smallest film in their franchise. Not the result they wanted. Not comparing it to the MCU, not comparing it to anything else. Just within its own franchise, Justice League, which should have been easily your biggest film in your universe, forget what the MCU is doing, who cares? Justice League should have been the biggest film in your universe, and instead it nosedives and becomes the least successful film in all of the DCEU. That can't be understated. I mean, it's a bad situation for them to be in. On top of all that, you've had a lot of chattering about who's in, who's out. I even got told yesterday. Yesterday was kind of weird. Yesterday, or was it 2 days ago? Anyway, 2 days ago, I got told by I'll be honest with you, I didn't know whether to trust him or not. I got told that Henry Cavill was out. To be honest with you, I didn't buy it. I still don't buy it. Just to be frank, I still don't buy it. But then what's weird is the following day, which was yesterday, I started seeing some chatter on Twitter about Henry Cavill being out of the DCEU. Now, granted, it wasn't from any reliable sources, nothing like that. But I just thought it was kind of funny. They got told one day that Henry Cavill's out, and I don't believe it. That's why I never did a story on it. I don't believe it. I still don't believe it. But the fact of the matter is, you have a DC cinematic universe that has and then forget about the Ben Affleck situation. There's some upheaval going on and stuff like that. There's some negative baggage that goes along with the DCU, and these are all things that could point to maybe they don't do it. Now, here's where we get into the semantic part of it. At some point, another Justice League movie is going to happen. But will it be a new version of a Justice League? And therefore not really a Justice League 2, but rather whether it's a rebooted Justice League, whether it's an all-new cast of characters, some form of a new Justice League movie. I think that's a foregone conclusion that at some point that happens. But whether it'll actually be Justice League 2, whether it'll be in the continuation of the DC cinematic universe as it exists today, I don't know. So, I believe there are some legitimate reasons to suspect there won't be a Justice League 2. I believe there are some very legitimate reasons to believe that there are. Which of the two arguments sells you better? Which one do you think the answer is? That's up to you guys to decide, but jump down to the comment section and let me know what you think. Will DC do a Justice League 2? Let me know your thoughts. Again, I think there's some legitimate reasons to think they won't, but I also think there's some pretty legitimate reasons to think that they will. Jump down to the comment section and let me know what you think. All right, let's move on to the final email today. And the final emailed in topic today comes to us from Franklin Mosinawea, who writes, "Greetings and salutations, Giovanni." Well, thank you so much, Franklin. Like most people, I don't have all the money in the world, and I've seen a lot of movies lately, blowing most of my movie budget. Oh, don't we all? So now I've got these two action movies opening in the next couple of weeks. In Skyscraper, that's the one with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and Equalizer 2, that's the one with Denzel Washington. Only got time and money for one. Which one should get my business? All right, thanks a lot for the question, Franklin. And that's a question that I love that picture Ray put together. That's a question that we often have to ask us. Hey, look, we got limited time and limited money to see whatever movies we want. And you got a couple of ones coming out, but I don't have time to watch both of them. Which one should I go see? Sorry, I'll just make this quick. So I told you guys, if you guys watched me yesterday, I said I was going to have a Skyscraper review up today because I was supposed to go see Skyscraper last night. About a half hour before I was supposed to leave to go see Skyscraper, I got a call from my wife, Ann, who's in Rhode Island right now because that's where Hasbro's head offices are. So every once in a while, she's got to fly out there to do business. And to let me know that one of our favorite couples friends, the husband in one of our favorite couples that we love hanging out with, his name's Alfred Lopez, and that he died suddenly yesterday. So I'm not going to go into all of that, but just to say that I know I announced yesterday that I would be seeing Skyscraper last night and I would be doing a review of Skyscraper today. But clearly I didn't have a chance to see it. So in answering the question about which of these two movies, Skyscraper or Equalizer 2, do I think you should be putting your time, investing your time and your finances in to go see? I'm coming at this from a pure, just a fan point of view because I haven't seen either of them yet because I didn't get a chance to go see it. So I'm a little bit torn because there's two factors here. On the one hand, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Huge fan of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I love watching his movies. I love watching him in these movies. There's that. Equalizer. Denzel is no slouch, and I loved the first Equalizer. Absolutely adored the first Equalizer, like a ton. And the trailers for the new one have looked great. For me, if I could only go see one film tomorrow, and it had to be either Skyscraper or Equalizer 2, I'm probably, and they open 1 week apart, I'm probably leaning towards Equalizer 2. Mostly because I loved the first film. I thought the first film was highly underrated, terrific, and I've loved the trailers for the second one. I think the trailers have looked top notch. And you got Pedro Pascal joining him as well, which is also great. With Skyscraper, you got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in there. But I will admit, I haven't loved the trailers. Hasn't stopped me from wanting to see the movie, but I haven't loved the trailers to Skyscraper. So I want to see both of these films very, very much. But if I were you, man, and I had to choose between one or the other, I'm probably personally leaning a little bit towards going to see Equalizer 2, but that's just me. What about you guys? If you had to choose one film to see over the next couple of weeks, you could only go see one because you only got time for one. Which one are you going to see? You're going to go see Skyscraper or are you going to go see Equalizer 2? I think that's going to be really good. I think that's going to be pretty close between people who would want to see Skyscraper and Equalizer 2 because they both look really good. All right, guys, with all that out of the way, we got a little bit of time left to take some live questions. You guys have been firing in some live questions, so let's go over to your live comments right now. And the first one comes us from Grandmaster, who writes, Fred Rogers, also known as Mr. Rogers, is in fact a time traveler who met Jesus in person so he could learn from the Master himself of what being a Christian truly means. You don't need a church or religion to live Christian values. You know, one of the things that I love most about Won't You Be My Neighbor was the fact that, you know, we see so much of the corruption of people of faith, and rightly so. Like, we see a lot of stories about that, and rightly so. It's just so weird and refreshing when you see a movie about a guy, real life person, who really epitomized what a life of kindness, what a life of goodness, what a life of love, and what a life of faith really is supposed to look like. And it's really cool when you can get a movie like Won't You Be My Neighbor and see that. And like, you guys have seen my review of that movie by now. Freaking amazing documentary. Make sure you treat yourself, guys, and go see it. All right, Ben Hayusa writes, which awful movie would you choose to watch instead? The Last Airbender, Dragon Ball Evolution, or Jupiter Ascending? Well, I'm never watching Jupiter Ascending again. That film was pure garbage. The Last Airbender at least had a couple of giggles in it. I'm going to go Dragon Ball Evolution. Not a good film. Do not get me wrong. Not a good film. But I thought it had more redeeming qualities than either The Last Airbender or Jupiter Ascending. I'm a little biased myself. One of Anne's friends is one of the stars of Dragon Ball Evolution. So, I mean, there's a little bias there, admittedly. But even still, if that weren't the case, I would still say Dragon Ball Evolution. But just because it's not a good movie. No. Don't misquote me. John said Dragon Ball Evolution is good. No, I did not. But I think there is at least some redeeming qualities in it, at least more so than there were in The Last Airbender or in Jupiter Ascending, at least in my opinion, at any rate. All right, Ben follows that up with thoughts on Mrs. Doubtfire, because I was watching it the other day and that movie made me miss Robin Williams even more. I mean, you could watch any Robin Williams movie, and it'll make you miss Robin Williams. HBO has a documentary coming out on Robin Williams, actually, and I don't know if it's out yet or not, but I remember I was watching the Andre the Giant documentary, and that's when I first saw the trailer. Just before the Andre the Giant documentary starts on HBO, they played this trailer for a Robin Williams documentary. And I don't know if it's out on HBO yet, but I remember going, that I gotta watch. I gotta watch that. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, Mrs. Doubtfire, I love who doesn't love Mrs. Doubtfire? Mrs. Doubtfire is awesome. It was way ahead of its time, too. And you're right, it is one of those movies, like most of his films, that you would watch and go, damn, I wish the world had Robin Williams right now. I really do. Zombitron writes, Lando will live. The last bit of nostalgia left. I don't know. There's a lot of nostalgia still around in Star Wars. You know, you still got the Millennium Falcon. You still got Chewie. You still got TIE fighters and Star Destroyers. You still have X-Wings and what. I mean, there's still a good amount of nostalgia in there. But he's one of the last big pieces of the puzzle, or one of the last big chess pieces still on the board. He is. But I'm going to tell you, I got to think about it more. I think if I'm going to vote on the poll a little bit later, but if I were to vote right now, I might lean towards that. I think he might die in it. I think he might get like a big heroic hero's death. I think they might give him that. And you know me, I love it when my favorite characters get big heroic blaze of glory deaths. I love that. It's one of the reasons why I like the Luke Skywalker stuff in The Last Jedi so much. But anyway, but then again, there's really good arguments to be made that they'll have him live in it. So I'm still torn. Personally, I'm still torn. Again, guys, cast your vote. Do you think Lando's going to live or die in episode 9? Look for the link in the description below. It's at the very bottom of the description. Click on that and register your vote. I want to hear what you guys have to say. All right. Peter Pan writes, to live would be a great adventure. Bangarang, Peter. Bangarang. I love Hook. I don't care. It still stuns me. Like, there's lots of movies in life that I love that I go, oh yeah, I could totally get why people wouldn't like that. I think the movie's awesome, but I totally get why people wouldn't like that. Hook is one of those movies that I don't understand. It's all subjective, but I don't understand. How do you not love Hook? Hook is so good. Bangarang. Bangarang. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Let's see. Oh, I just got an email from Walt Disney Studios publicity department saying the tickets for Christopher Robin go on sale today. I can't wait to watch Christopher Robin. I totally forgot that was a Disney film. Let's see. Next one comes to us from Ethan's Tech World, who writes, I wish you could be less than 18 to use A-list. I understand, but I also understand why AMC has that restriction. Because I think, you know, you still want to be financially viable. And I think to them is we let parents and adults have A-list. And that way they'll come to movies and bring their kids and buy tickets for their kids. We're saving them money, but at the same time, we're making money. It's a win-win for everybody. So I understand why they have that limitation. But it would be cool if they had a way to let people under 18 have it as well. I don't know. Like, I want them to do it in such a way that is financially viable and sustainable. But it would be cool if they could not have that restriction. I don't know how to do it, but it would be cool if they could lift that restriction somehow. All right. Michael Ginyard writes, what's your favorite found footage movie? The Blair Witch Project or Paranormal Activity? Neither. My favorite found footage movie is Josh Trank's Chronicle. That is my all-time favorite found footage movie. And I remember I was really getting tired of the whole found footage movie craze when Chronicle was coming out. And I remember begrudgingly, I think Ray came with me, begrudgingly, I went to the studio. I think it was a Paramount film. Begrudgingly, I went to the studio to watch a screening of it on the studio lot. And I went to watch it totally begrudgingly, walked out really happy. Love that movie. So when you ask me what's my favorite found footage movie, neither of those. And a lot of people will say Blair Witch, a lot of people will say Paranormal Activity, and they're great examples of found footage movies done right. But to me, Chronicle is the best found footage movie ever. And one of my favorite hero movies, to be honest. I mean, not top 5 or anything, but one of my favorite hero movies. It's a great hero origin film. So check it out. If you haven't seen Chronicle, watch it. It's got Michael B. Jordan in it. It's just fantastic. Check it out. Okay. Maurice Cook writes, What happens to Conan franchise? Will there be a reboot? Arnold Schwarzenegger has been saying forever that he's doing another Conan movie. He says, I'm doing it. I'm doing Conan. We're doing another Conan movie. I keep hearing about it and all this kind of stuff. I believe I heard they're now developing a TV series. Honestly, I don't know. I've heard so many conflicting things about Conan over the years. I gotta believe at some point, someday, they'll do another one. But remember, they just did a reboot a few years ago with Jason Momoa. A movie that started off, but I think the first act of that Jason Momoa Conan movie was really good. It kind of fell apart a little bit after that. Yeah, it did. But I remember sitting in the theater watching that Conan movie and actually about a third of the way through going, this is really good. And then it kind of fell apart, which is unfortunate. But so they just did one not long ago. So I can't see them doing another reboot anytime soon. But at some point, I'm pretty sure they probably will. I just don't know if this Arnold one will ever happen. He's been talking about it for so many years. I'm just losing faith that that's going to happen. Let's see. Toonie Tube writes, Lando will die in episode 9, and that's fine.